Hi, hello, welcome to Dangerfield's Sunday Prescription. How nice to have you. It has so far been a bit of a trial, this. I've already recorded one, but it was absolute cack. And although I promised myself I wasn't going to get all perfectionist about this shit, it was so bad. It was so bad that I had to record another one, and I spent 2 days trying to edit it, and I don't know how to use the software properly, and I was making an awful recording sound even worse. So I thought, no, do something good. So I've taken the plunge, and I've decided to record the whole fucking thing again and avoid talking about all the nonsense I spoke about last time, which was the opposite of entertaining. I can say that much. Maybe in the future, when I've built up an audience of over 4, I will release that initial recording for laughs. But for now, no, absolutely not. I wanna give you something that will make your Sunday more pleasurable, rather than the previous recording, which would have actually taken from your Sunday. It would have made it worse. So yeah, I am located in the centre of Soho, and it's a noisy area, so you will hear noises. I will do my best with the software to chop out the sound of people dying in the street and the wankers in the restaurant down below, Bao London, who've been building a restaurant forever and making a fucking horrible noise all night long forever. And I've written to them a couple of times saying, look, come on, do you really need to use an angle grinder at 4 o'clock in the morning? And they reply like cunts. So don't go there. I think the big news, certainly for me this week, has been the exit scam of the Evolution marketplace. An exit scam. Did they exist before? I don't know. Can you hear the death outside? There's the aforementioned murder in the street. That wasn't a sound effect I put onto a company exit scam. That's just a real life murder. Exit scam. So let me, if you don't know, Evolution was an online marketplace that you access by using the Tor browser, and that will allow you to get onto the deep web, the dark net, the internet anus, or whatever, call it what you want. It's opposed to the clear net, which is where Google will take you. And yeah, it's purely anonymous. It's quite an amazing thing, actually. The people behind Tor project, they've put, is there a Harrier landing outside? Oh, for fuck's sake, this is ridiculous. I'm going to just have to plough through this. You're just going to enjoy the sounds. Allow the ambience of the centre of our grotty capital to make the podcast more exciting. It's as if you're here. Shut your eyes and be part of the metropolis. Okay. So yeah, Evolution, accessible using the Tor browser, an amazing browser that gives you anonymous access to the dark web. And an interesting place, actually, because there are some countries where you can't use the internet in the way we can. I mean, we've got limited freedoms. We've definitely got restrictions. We might not know about them. They might be so enmeshed in our culture that we just think it's normal. But we have got restrictions, and we are being spied on without doubt. I mean, the internet, the bloke that invented the internet, he didn't want to sell it to a corporation. He gave it away. He could have been a zillionaire, but he gave it away because he wanted humans to communicate. He was right. When humans communicate, humans do better. We improve. We're very efficient when we communicate. When we don't communicate, we end up killing each other in wars, etc., which is mankind at its least efficient. So he had this great idea of people communicating. And that was an idea that was free, and it was a freeing idea. You know, the internet could have been the most amazing communication tool, and weirdly it's become the exact opposite of that. The internet is history's most successful surveillance operation, without doubt. I mean, you cannot fart anywhere near your laptop without someone somewhere making a note of it, archiving it, sticking your name on it, and probably going to arrest you in the future when farts are illegal. They're going to remember that fart. They're going to come round, and section 22 of the fart code is going to see you locked up with 1,000 other farters in one long methane hell. So beware of that. But the Tor browser An amazing thing. People in China, for instance, who can't access Twitter, who can't access YouTube, who if they say the wrong thing, get their bollocks chopped off, they can use Tor to communicate with people around the world and involve themselves with anti-establishment activities. So it's an amazing thing. Now, people also realised they could set up anonymous marketplaces like eBay and Amazon, but without all the bullshit rules, without being policed by people protecting us against ourselves. So they set up marketplaces. This is important. These marketplaces weren't drug marketplaces. They were just like eBay and Amazon. Here's a marketplace. We want vendors and we want punters, and you can buy and sell whatever you want. The fact that they are almost exclusively drugs, porn, weapons and hacking doesn't say anything about the Tor project, doesn't say anything about the deep web. It says something about the market economy, supply and demand. And the fact that the DEA and the FBI and the CIA and what other bullshit name, what are the British ones called at the minute, the Sassas or something, they've jacked all the MI5 stuff. I think James Bond kind of corrupted it for them. I can't remember what they're called at the moment, but it's something pansy and stupid, and it's not the truth that they are a bunch of snooping bastards. Yeah, the fact that all these organisations are trying to shut it down, who are they protecting us from? Our own desires. They are the police of our desires, and it's bullshit, and it doesn't work, and that's why they're thriving. And that's why when they closed the first one down, the Silk Road, about an hour later, the Silk Road 2 popped up. As soon as Silk Road 2 popped up, then Agora popped up, Black Market Reloaded popped up, Sheep popped up, Evolution popped up. You know, you can't really hold down human desire. Now, the exit scam. Evolution, if you don't know, the currency used on these anonymous marketplaces is bitcoins. It's a cryptocurrency. It's generated via computers and very complicated algorithms. In fairness, any algorithm is complicated to me. But look into it. Go onto Google, type in bitcoins, find out about it. It is incredible. It's a way of having money and moving money and exchanging value. Without the use of banks, and obviously that's a good idea because banks are arseholes. I remember the first time my girlfriend got some bitcoins and I needed some bitcoin, and she said, okay, I'll transfer them to you. And she did. She'd done it without the use of a bank. She moved money from one location to another without the use of a bank, without the use of any centralized authority. It was incredible. It was almost the most revolutionary thing I'd ever done. I mean, I've been on riots, I've thrown bottles through windows, I've gone at anti-capitalist demos, I had a handkerchief over my nose at the poll tax riots, but weirdly, accepting a Bitcoin transfer may well just have been the most revolutionary gesture I've ever made. It is exciting and it is still going, regardless of what you'll hear. Look into it. So these are the coins that are used on these anonymous marketplaces. Now, when people are paying them in, they're held in an escrow system, which is like a third party. It's an absent third party. No one really owns it. It's just a way of saying, we put it there. When you get your goods, we'll give it to the vendor. And what Evolution did, and now again in retrospect, it's obvious and it's weird that no one got hold of it. They stopped all withdrawals. And they made up some excuses that they were increasing bandwidth, or they were tinkering with the back end. And I like to tinker with the back end, and all this stuff. And so money from orders, from payments, was building up, and then they took the lot. They took the lot. It's been estimated to have been around £12 million worth of bitcoins. And you can see it. You can go to the blockchain. It's I don't really get that part of it. It gets very technical there. But you can go to the blockchain and you can see this massive amount of money that just got yanked out of the Evolution marketplace. And it's pretty untraceable. There's people on Reddit talking about there's some Ukrainian organised crime saying that they're going to go and kill them, but I'm not sure they'll be able to find them. I mean, the only way they will is if they talk, and humans are prone to talk. I mean, this is kind of going to haunt those people. I've been involved in crime, and dirty money, there's a problem with dirty money. Whatever you buy with it is equally dirty. It doesn't mean so much to you. You haven't earned it. Don't get me wrong, there's a certain pleasure there, and you kind of got one over on the system to an extent. You haven't paid your tax. But it's filthy lucre, isn't it? And there's going to be an element of that about them. They haven't earned it, they've stolen it. And whatever you think about drug dealers, if you're buying drugs, then you've kind of sanctioned the operation. And these were people's businesses. These were their mortgages. This was their kids going to university. This was their pensions. And the two blokes that run Evolution, they just took the lot. They've stolen it. They're thieves, and they fucked a lot of people up. Of course, it's not got rid of the online drug marketplaces. I mean, Agora recorded 10 times its usual traffic the following day. It's supply and demand. You're not going to get rid of it.
You're listening to Dangerfield's Sunday Prescription.
Okay, something else great that happened to me this week. I went to the BBC iPlayer and I thought I'd watch a BBC documentary. They can be hit and miss, and I don't know why. There was one on these Chinese twins. I don't know what appealed to me. It just looked kind of interesting. It didn't really. In the summary, it was the chins. A couple of chins were abandoned in a box. These Chinese twins. Well, I suppose they are chins. That. What is that? It's a contraction, isn't it, of Chinese twins? These chins. I suppose you could have called them tweez as well. These chin tweez. No, these Chinese twins, these two girls, were abandoned in a box on the Great Wall of China. I don't know. I don't think it was the Great Wall of China, but the documentary was showing pictures of the Great Wall of China while they were saying they were abandoned in a box, which certainly gave me the illusion that probably they were abandoned on the Great Wall of China. But they were abandoned in this box, and the Chinese authorities got hold of them, and they gave them up for adoption. And I don't know the ins and outs of how it happened, but an American couple adopted one of the twins and a Norwegian couple adopted the other one of the twins. And by some weird fluke of time, they were both in the same place at the same time, like 6 months later or something. I might have got this wrong. I mean, you know what it's like watching a documentary. You spend most of the time fucking around on your phone. They ended up in a similar place, at the same place at the same time, and they both bought the same dress for their each twin. They bought the same dress for their own twin, and they kind of recognised the other one. It was like, shit, that looks a lot like our daughter, and oh, isn't it weird how they got the same dress? And they went to the Chinese authorities, who denied it. For some reason, probably so they couldn't trace it, they denied that they were twins. But they kind of knew, and they pushed and they pushed and they pushed, and it came out that they were twins. And so the two girls had built this relationship through the post and through the telephone, through the families communicating. And it was nuts, man. I cried my eyes out. I absolutely cried my eyes out. There was this amazing bit where they were meeting for the first time since they were together in this box as babies. And the Norwegian one was going crackers. She was waiting on her drive. The Yanks went to Norway, and she was waiting there with her family, and she was shaking her ass. She was hysterical. And why wouldn't you be? You know, she shared an egg with this self-other, her different other self, other weird egg, same person. And when the Yank got out of the car, she ran down and they hit the music. La, da, 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 and she jumped on her and they embraced and they span, and I went for it. And when I cry, my mouth does something obscene and unpleasant, and I hate people seeing it. I rarely cry in public, but I sort of do this thing where the bottom lip shakes. Oh, it's disgusting. And I went for it, man, and I was rubbing tears out of my eyes, and they were fucking milking it. They had them in this lake swimming, and they put them in the same swimming costumes, and they were like sort of mermaids dancing together and in sequence, and almost as if there was that bullshit myth mythological bond between twins' brains, and they were mirroring each other, and oh man, I just lost it. God knows what I was really quite crying at, but I certainly focused on them to let it all out. The overriding message I got from it, apart from my own tears, there was this really awkward reality that the Norwegian kid who had been brought up amongst the fjords of Norway, and waterfalls and lakes and rivers and horses, sheep, dogs, space, environment, her place was amazing, and she was amazing. She was bright, clever, witty, intelligent, articulate, sensitive, an amazing kid. Her twin, who grew up in America, I can't remember where, Boston, Chicago, somewhere like that, was a little bitch. There's no arguing that. You watch it, she's a little bitch. The other one, the Norwegian one, she's reading from her diary. Yeah, they voice overed it and they've subtitled it. Her English isn't that good. She can speak a bit of English. The American can barely speak anything. But she's reading from her diary and they've subtitled it, and she's like fucking Keats. She's there going, my sister, who from space divides us. In time together we shall wander, in light as in night. And it's just incredible, and you're like, what? She's 7? What the fuck? And the Yank, on the other hand, is just this prissy little shit. She's, I want another fucking hamburger. She doesn't say fucking, but she's like something from Sex in the City. She's walking around, no, Mum, I told you I don't want to wear that fucking dress. She's a bit of a shit. I was getting kind of nervous, thinking what's going to happen when they meet, and the Norwegian one's going to be like, yeah, but hang on, you're horrible. You've really let the side down. You've let the team down by being like you are. And it's just her environment, but it kind of makes you think that there's a lot of people growing up in America, and it had not served her well. It had shaped her into something quite grotesque. I mean, her parents, they were trying to create a superwoman, and they were going the wrong way about it. You want a super person, you want a good person, give them space, give them love, give them freedom, choice, opportunity. That's what the Norwegian one had. Her parents were just lovely. They weren't forcing her to do shit. They gave her options and she chose to do shit. The American one, oh man, she was playing football. She was doing karate. She was doing this poxy beauty pageant bullshit. She was doing, with the pom-poms, cheerleader shit. She was being forced to do all these things, and they spoke about her like she was a project. They were like, with the colleges want to see activity. They want to see a 6-year-old girl playing American fucking football. They won't teach them unless they're fucking sporty. It was insane. And yeah, she don't like it. She kicks and she screams, but we stick the makeup on her and dress her up as a fucking whore, and we shuck her. We stick her on stage and old men look at her, and that's what the colleges want. And she'd been affected by it. But all that beside, when they met, when they were swimming, I did break down into a middle-aged hysteria. It was quite something, and I like it. To be honest with you, I like it. You're opening the floodgates, come on, you're turning the taps, and you're letting out a little bit of shit, and I was alright with that. There was another key point in the documentary. They had an argument. I mean, they got on. It was quite incredible. They could barely communicate. One thing the Norwegian girl said, which was amazing, the American one was getting ratty again because of the language barrier, and the Norwegian one said, I've learnt the words, I just can't remember what they mean. That's fucking incredible, man. What a intelligent girl. And there was this awkward bit when they started having an argument. One of them, I can't remember who, they look like twins. They look the same. One of them wanted to comb the other one's hair. They're both standing in the mirror. And so she was trying to get the brush off the other one so she could comb her hair. But the other one thought she was trying to steal her brush. And so she was thinking, what? You know, you got your own brush. And so there was this little argument. And I was thinking, oh, fuck, man, this is awful. 7 years this has been building up. And this whole documentary. And, you know, the parents were all nervous and they've got back together and they're arguing. I mean, this is awkward. But obviously they're children. I'm throwing my mad adult argument onto it. I mean, when I have an argument with one of my mates, I'm not talking to them for months, if not years. Fuck you. No way. You're a cunt. You fucked up. You said that. I'm not talking to you forever. I would rather miss out on the friendship that we have enjoyed for years, for months, because of one little argument. That's the bullshit I live in. But kids aren't like that. They don't have that mad grudge. They had this little hissy fit about the brushes. 10 seconds later, they were hand in hand, running through the long grass with them playing in the background. It was fucking amazing. Good documentary. Check it out. It's weird when I watch those documentaries where you see someone else's life and someone else's environment. I'm such a sucker for a re-lifer. You know, I'm watching that documentary thinking, man, I've got to move to Norway. And, you know, I'm on Google that night checking out houses and jobs in Norway, and there's very few of both. And a lot of it isn't like what I saw, but I'm sure, I mean, this town was incredible. They said to the American parents when they were coming over, she was like, there's not a lot of things to do here. She was obviously from Indian extraction. There's not a lot of things to do here. There was no supermarket. No, there was one supermarket in this town, but there was no cinema, no restaurants, nothing, no 10-pin bowling, no nothing. There was just a supermarket. I mean, weirdly there, I've just confessed my ideal town, haven't I? Cinema, restaurant, 10-pin bowling, and no supermarket. But they had a supermarket. I'm such a grass is greener kind of person. I watch it and just think, wow, man, look at that. I mean, not that the grass is greener, but I'm standing on fucking asphalt, man. I'm on tarmac, and when I look at another life, it's like the rainforest, you know. It's just an abundance of life and gorgeousness. Lush is the word that comes to mind. And I'm in like a foggy sort of Victorian London kind of grey existence, and I just think, yeah, I want that. I want to just jump into that jungle and it be like Hearts of Darkness, and I'm Kurtz and I'm becoming at one with the jungle, and then obviously I'll stick TalkSport on and just go to bed. I saw my friend Hardeep this week. You might know the chap. He wears the turban. He's a chef and a broadcaster. And he's a nice bloke, man. He's really helped me out in my career. I met him about 7 years ago. I went to a little do at Soho House, which is a shithole without doubt. It's got progressively worse though. I mean, it was kind of fun in the late 90s. 6 years ago, it was kind of embarrassing. And now it's just a pus pit. I met him there, and it was interesting. He was with that woman Hattie. What's her name? She's the robot from Red Dwarf, not Norman Lovett, the other one with the blonde bob, and not Norman Lovett in a blonde bob. A different robot. No, not Holly. I don't know the fucking show, but you know what I mean. She was the woman robot, the woman screen thing. Oh, fuck it. I don't know. But you do. Hattie, her name is. And she was there, and Hardy was there, and we had quite a laugh, actually. I mean, you know, they're both performers. I'm a performer, and we kind of enjoy performing. And we were chatting and exchanging stories, and Hardeep asked me if I'd go on his Edinburgh show. And it was amazing. It was my first Edinburgh. And, you know, I was just doing, like little spots here and there. I was part of a showcase. I got the headline of that showcase after the first couple of nights because I was better than all the others, but still, I was actually just going last on a showcase of unknown and mostly rubbish acts. And so suddenly I was doing Hardeep's show, and his show, the Chat Masala, which I don't know if he'd done it before, but he's certainly done it since. It's a format he knows. Is a sellout show. He plays to 300-400 people a night in the big assembly rooms venue, and yeah, it's absolutely packed. And he has established acts on. He makes some food. He chops up chutneys and blends stuff and fries chicken and makes the most amazing food. and he interviews established acts and me, and it was incredible, and I was so lording it up around the pad. I shared a house in Leith, in the shithole that is Leith, and I mean that in the nicest way. It's a wonderful shithole. As far as shitholes go, Leith is near the top. And there was about 12 of us sharing this house. Oh, excuse me, I've got an awful neck ache. I'm just giving myself a little massage. There you go. And that hasn't done anything. Yeah, I was sharing a house with about 12 other unknown comics, and of course I've got this gig at Hardeep, so I'm just walking around the house going, oh, what are you doing today? And not giving them a chance to reply before going, because I'm doing Hardeep Singh Kohli's sellout show at the Assembly Room, so I'll see you later, yeah? And then I went there, and it was amazing, and for some reason I wore these like 8-inch stilettos. I thought, make an impression. I could barely walk. That was the impression I made, an impression of someone who couldn't walk, as I sort of high-legged it across the stage, and I got up on this seat, and it was amazing, and it felt great, and there was a lovely audience, and he said to me, this is a family show, so don't say too much. And so I didn't say too much, but that didn't happen later on in the same festival, because what happened was I was then introduced to a woman who worked for BBC Scotland, and she was most impressed with my shtick, and she said, would you like to come on BBC Scotland? And I was like, yes I would, and of course I would. At my first Edinburgh, I'd been doing stand-up for about a minute, and I was going to be going on BBC Radio Scotland, and that's exciting. So again, I lorded it up around the house, and they sent a car. The BBC sent a car to my flat in Leith to pick me up. So I was there with all these other acts, and I was going, okay, can I just clear, is anyone here being picked up in a car sent from the BBC to be on BBC Radio today? Anyone, or just me? No one else? Just me getting a car for the BBC. And it was all meant in really bad and quite aggressive humour, and I was doing my best to establish my superiority over them all, and I've maintained that. Most of them aren't performing anymore, which is, I assure you, a good thing, because they were shit. Anyway, so my car arrived, and it's pulled up outside, and it's a limousine with like tinted windows. It's not, it's a taxi, Leith cars, and it's driven me into the BBC studios. And on my way there, I was thinking, this is the nuts, man. If this is my first Edinburgh, by my fourth Edinburgh, it will be called the Dangerfield Festival. If things continue to progress at this speed, I've done Hardeep Show, I'm doing BBC Radio Scotland, soon it will be Planet Dangerfield, which obviously would be fantastic. So I get in this taxi, and I'm driving there, and I'm thinking all that, and then I thought, what am I going to do? Because they want me to do a set, they want me to do 5 minutes stand-up, and I improvise, I tell stories from my past and other people's pasts, and sometimes a mixture of both. Bit of fabrication, bit of exaggeration, bit of embellishment, a lot of truth, a lot of untruths, but I don't really have material, and I certainly don't have a set for 10 o'clock in the morning, BBC Radio Scotland, going out live, and so I start worrying a little bit. I'm like, shit. And it's going to happen, I'm either going to blow them out and miss an opportunity, or it's going to happen. And then when I get there, I start really panicking and thinking, what the fuck have I done? I haven't got anything for this time of day. And usually if I was going to do a 5-minute spot somewhere, even then I would have just gone on stage and started talking to the audience, and then if something had come up, I'd have just told that story. I can't do that there, because there's limits there. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. It's just public access radio. And then I think, shit, this is really bad. And then the show starts, and the bloke running it is Fred McCauley. He's a bit of a well-known broadcaster in Scotland. He used to be an accountant, and now he's a quite an unfunny broadcaster. But the show starts, and it's so boring. It's really boring. And I start thinking, what am I doing here? I've got nothing to offer this show. I don't want to offer it. The show's got very little to offer me. And what is really the cherry on the turd is when Lee Unfunny Utter Cunt Nelson is on before me. Lee Nelson, he's got a baseball cap on backwards hilariously and cargo shorts, and he makes funny working class jokes about his girlfriend having a tit job. And it's awful. And the audience, there's a live audience of about 200 silver-haired, jumper-wearing Scottish people, average age 400. And they're cracking up. They love his inoffensive, uninteresting shtick. They're loving it. And I feel like I've sold out. So suddenly the dream that it's going to be the Dangerfield Festival, I realise I'm just being shipped through the system. I'm on the conveyor belt to make me crap. I don't want to be crap. I want to be good. I want to be interesting. And I feel like for all my pretensions and my revolutionary aspect, as soon as the BBC said, want to come on our show, I've put my arse in the air and gone, yeah, go on, fuck me, go for it. And I'm angry at myself and I'm embarrassed and I think, fuck it, what have I done? And before I've had time to really consider my action, I've gone with the flow he introduces me as he said, and now some madcap humour. Madcap humour. I couldn't believe it. So I've gone on and I'm nervous because I've got nothing to offer. I am without arms. Not arms. I've got arms and hands, but I have no weaponry. I've got nothing at my disposal to attack the moment. And so it's fucking dreadful, man. And you can hear it in my voice. It's kind of warbling, that sort of nervous, hello, how are you? And it's just silent. They don't like me. I'm wearing some ridiculous red and white gangster striped suit and it's too tight around the bollocks and you can see my split difference. You know, ball one side, ball and cock the other side and it's all coming flooding back now. I mentioned some bloke's jumper. I go, cock, can you see this jumper? Now, this is going out live. No one at home can see his jumper, obviously. It's the shittest opening gambit for a radio set ever. Can you see his jumper? He's in the front row. Even the 200 people at the venue can't see his jumper. It's nonsense. And so I think, shit, I'm going to have to describe it. But rather than just describing it, not that I had anywhere to go with it, even if I could have done a live broadcast of this jumper, I had nowhere to go with it. It wasn't like I was going to say, well, now you've seen it, blah, blah, blah. No, but I tried to describe it and I said, well, if you can't see it, it's like you've been stabbed in the eye by a bottle opener that you bought at Marks and Spencer's. Yeah. Silence. Nothing. I didn't even give him enough material to dislike me. I just said some words and it was fucking awful. And then I said something shitty about Leith and they started booing me. And, you know, I've got thicker skin over the years, but it's still difficult when you're being booed. I mean, now I still get booed, but it's kind of good humour and I'll work it and I'll go with it and I'll kind of encourage it. But then it was just like, get off, you horrible shit. Can you just go? You're ruining our lovely little morning radio show. Fred Macaulay, he's clocked it, obviously. I mean, the air was solid with failure and embarrassment. And so he's tried to help me and Fred's gone, like I was meant to do a 5-minute set. I'd done about 30 seconds and he went, so Chris, but with a Scottish accent, he went, so Chris, who are your comedy inspirations? And at that point I thought, I've got to style this somehow. No one who's just heard this is coming to my show. Anyone who might have been coming to my show is not coming now. How can I get something out of this? Can I save this at the last minute? And he said to me, who are your comedy inspirations? And I said, I didn't want to list them. I didn't want to say, I like this bloke, I like this bloke. You know, I just thought that was shit. So I said, my father. I don't know why. I don't know why I said that. I just thought that's better than listing a load of comics. I mean, who has favourites anyway? Favourites, it's so temporary. Your favourite one day, you can't stand the next. It's bullshit. So I just said my father, who did, in fact, he was a very funny man. So I said my father, and he said, what did he do? Now, I'm sorry, you can't give me that on a plate and expect me not to shove it down my throat. And I said, remember, this is live, going out to the whole of Scotland. It's their biggest radio show. There's a couple of hundred people live. He's looking at me and he says, and what did he do? And I say, I said, he sexually abused my greasy anus. And it worked though, it worked. For the whole of the festival, people were coming up to me after they see me perform saying, I heard you on the radio, I could not fucking believe it. And I'd managed to save myself. I mean, I didn't save myself live. The audience, you know, it was palpable. There was, oh, you know, there was like a communal, oh. I mean, it puts an audience in a weird position, that one. The same kind of position my whole Sex with Children show, kind of the fulcrum that tilted on. I mean, it's, you know, what are they meant to do? They meant to go, boo. What? Because I said I was sexually abused. I wasn't sexually abused by my father, not even close. But they don't know that, and so they can't kind of boo me. But at the same time, it's so unwanted. So there was this just like and Fred McCauley went, fair play to him, he done pretty well. He went, well, that's probably something perhaps for your biography. Chris Dangerfield, ladies and gentlemen, and started the applause. I just dropped the mic and walked out, and the woman that booked me, she went fucking mad. She lost her job, and to this day, she says it wasn't because of that, but she says it in such a way where I know it was because of that.
Dangerfield's Sunday prescription. Turn on, tune in, drop off.
So anyway, yeah, I saw Hardeep this week. Lovely to see him. I'd lent him this recording machine and I collected that off him. Really nice to see him. And it's kind of weird when I see him because he wears a turban, obviously, and he's Indian, and he reminds me, when I grew up, on my street there was a lot of Indian kids. And, you know, I didn't know they were Indian kids. Well, I did, but I didn't kind of know the implications because they'd always been there. And I just remember going round their houses and their mums would cook pakora and barges and naan. And, you know, I was on a diet of Dairy sandwiches on white bread that had my mum's grey fingerprints in them and a bit of fucking ash off of her Rothmans that was permanently sticking out of her beak. And I was down there eating the most amazing food, and it wasn't like a celebration. They weren't having a party, they just ate amazingly all the fucking time. And we'd be watching Amitabh Bachchan, the Bollywood star, I think he's still making films. I'm going back like nearly 40 years. Dor Bunge was one of them, and I think it means 2 + 2 = 5, which is interesting. And one of them's a criminal, one of them's a policeman, and hilarity and tension ensues when they're trying to outwit each other. And you know, the Indian kids would be translating these films for me, and it was just kind of normal. And the lad that lived up my road, I've told Hardeep this, he looks the spitting image of Hardeep's dad. He had the turban and the beard and the same skin colour, and he was the same size. I mean, he's a big man, Hardeep. You know, I stay at his pad at the Edinburgh Festival, and he's fucking huge, you know. He would just have to run at you. He would, you know, I have to walk through the same place twice to leave a shadow. Hardeep's shadow would knock me out. I mean, this is the difference in size. But it's great to see him. It was a nice time. And I'm taken back every time I see him to Harjeet Doofa and his sister Titi, I think her name was. There was a couple of them, Neetu and Titi, which well, they were amazing times. I liked that family, and they moved to Southend, and I was about 5, and I cried my eyes out. I was so sad, and I remember writing to him, and I remember he lived in Leon Sea. I always remember that, and I remember thinking, you know, we would stay friends, but you're a kid, and it lasted about a week, and I've looked for him on Facebook, but never found him. So if anyone knows Harjeet Doofa, he's got a top knot and he's 5 years old. If you see him, tell him I'm looking for him. Another friend I saw this week, this is a lovely story. About a year ago, I was in a brothel in Thailand withdrawing from heroin. I was having a fucking nightmare. I know the girl that owns the brothel. I went over there, I said, look, I'm back on the skag. Can I stay at yours and just get clean? And she said, yeah. And so I just rattled it. Cold turkey, no meds, plenty of water, lots of sweating, lots of insomnia. You know, I wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep for about 9 days solid. It was fucking awful. Horrible time. And I was obviously trying to... What is that? Is that a spaceship going past outside? Aircraft carrier, perhaps? Anyway, I was having this really horrible time, but I was listening after the first 2 weeks, the acute phase of withdrawal, where you're just left like you're dying. I was listening to a lot of podcasts and comedy and music, and Stanhope had a man called Mishka Shabale doing the music. One of his songs was the intro music for Stanhope's podcast. I really like this song, and when you're withdrawing, everything has a heavier emotional content than it actually does have. You know, you are pleading with the universe to give you something, and you're extracting more than that's available out of everything on an emotional level. And so I sought out more of this Mishka Shabale, and it turns out he's a writer as well. And he's a musician, he's a writer, he spent most of his life pissed out of his head. You know, one of those proper rotten alcoholics with shit in their socks and puke in their eyes and waking up asleep over a fence somewhere, and, you know, and he's 5 years off the booze. And I got right into his story because I write and I perform and I don't want to be using drugs and I struggle with this shit. And so I got right into it, and his music helped. You know, I enjoyed listening to it, blah, blah, blah. I obviously then used my stalking skills to communicate with Mishka Shabale, and I wrote to him a few times, and he wrote back. And there were those kind of tentative steps with, you know, an internet stalk. I mean, I get people writing to me all the time, people I don't know from Adam, asking me questions about shit I know nothing about, as if I'm some kind of authority on them. And I ignore most of them, and some of them I just write back something, I don't fuck knows, but it happens. And so he was kind of tentative, but slowly over the year we became quite good friends. He's a cool man, he's a nice man, he's a sensitive man, he's a clever man, he's creative, and I like him, and he seems to like me. We talked on Skype, and it was amazing. He's American, you know. He's like, hi, guy, how's it going? How's my guy getting on? And I'm sort of English going, yes, I'm all right. I'm okay, Mr. USA. And he's really nice. And anyway, this week I had lunch with him. How incredible. He's on tour in England. And after that whole year of writing, and after being in a brothel in Thailand with this strange, detached, ghost-like voice singing me to awake, I've gone from that to sitting at Cafe Bohem on Greek Street, shoving eggs down my throat, laughing my head off, talking to who I now affectionately call Shubs. And it was great, and I'm going to see him perform. You can check him out on Facebook. Just chuck Mishka Shabale in there, and you can check out his UK gigs. I recommend them. They're good tunes. They've got a sense of humour. They're not just some rock star. They're aware that they're grotty, you know. Who likes to do this shit, really? Any performing has got a certain amount of ugliness in it, but to be aware of that makes it alright. So it was fucking nice meeting him, man. What a turnout. You know, it didn't have to happen like that. He could have just said, yeah, you need to fuck off with the creepy emails, which many people have done. I will one day release a collection of horrible emails from people asking me to stop writing to them because it's unpleasant and scary. There was one bad thing about meeting Shubs, and that was I was meant to be clean before we met. That was the plan. I went to a rehab centre early this month, and I should really be clean by now, but I'm not. And I did go to the rehab centre, but I walked out, and I walked out twice actually, not twice at the same moment, but. And see, the thing is, I forget what I fucking dislike about those places, because it's not one thing. I couldn't just say, oh, I don't agree with that, or I don't agree with this. It's a little bit of all of it, and it's so easy to forget those things when you're not there. And I go there with great intentions. You know, I've been to nearly 20, I think, if not 20 or more, in the last 20 years, detox centres and rehabs, and they're fucking horrible places. I mean, essentially, they make a very difficult job almost impossible. And, you know, their success rates are low. They are so low. I went to one 6 years ago. There was 18 of us in there. I think 5 of them are dead now. I think one person has stayed clean since then. One person out of 18. And that's kind of typical. You know, the numbers aren't good. They don't work very well. It's kind of all there is, really, but they don't work very well. And I fucking hate them. I loathe them. They're all caught up in that God business, and they're always like, you know, in the 12 steps of the AA and NA and CA and all of them, they're you know, it's just God and God everywhere, and I'm an atheist, and they're like, it's just a word, and it's like, it's not just a word, because words have meanings. That's like saying cunt is just a word, but if I called you cunt, you imagine I turned up in the morning, hi Chris, hello cunt. What? You can't say that? Oh, come on, it's just a word. It wouldn't cut it, would it? And it doesn't cut it with me, and I don't believe in the disease model either. It's not a disease, it's a choice. It's a bad choice. It's a choice based on pain. I have pain, I don't know how to deal with it, so I medicate myself, but I make that choice to do so. And to think it's a disease and to... It takes a responsibility away from you. That's step one. We're powerless over our addiction and our lives become unmanageable. My life is more manageable than most of the fucking staff in these places. Their lives are in bits. And to say I'm powerless, no, that is to relinquish responsibility. Take some responsibility. You're choosing to use drugs. Is it ruining your life? Is it destroying your life? Is it a negative thing? How is it affecting you? But take some responsibility. This isn't an external influence, it's an internal decision. If you don't like it, change it, but don't call it a disease, and don't think that God, the God you don't believe in, and that obviously they got a way around that. Oh, it's alright, if you don't believe in God, just make one up. Yeah, thanks, that's fucking helpful. So they're awful places. I had to get out of there. But having said that, there has been some funny times over the years. You know, group therapy, the potential for comedy in group therapy is almost without competition. You've got the point that you should not laugh. You know, this is group therapy. Damaged people are bearing their souls, so you should not laugh. So immediately the potential for laughter is increased infinitely. And it's not just me. You know, the eyes and the giggles zoom around those rooms like a bearing in a pinball machine. It's something else. I can remember years ago being in this treatment centre, and this girl, she's reading her life story. It's you have to read your life story in every treatment centre up and down the land. At some point they make you write your life story, a page a year. So you got the like 12-year-old glue heads in there. They just have written like a couple of notes on the back of a Rizzler. And then you got the old fucks like me who are writing a novel. And then you have to read it out in front of the group, and she's reading her life story, and it's a horrific story. I'm not suggesting it's not, but let's not pretend horrific can't be funny when often horrific is funnier. She's telling this story about her boyfriend or husband or some shit, and they're weightlifters, and they're Mr. and Mrs. Not So Natural UK, but they're banging smack so that they can lift heavier weights without the pain, and they're jabbing sulfate amphetamines into their fucking bloodstream so they can lift 1,000 reps a second, and you know, and they're winning these trophies, but they're going slowly mental. And in the end, he kills himself. The husband killed the boyfriend. Fuck knows, I can't remember. I'll just say the husband. He kills himself. He goes and lays down on a fucking train track. I mean, the level of terror that you must live in to see that as a solution. You know, can you imagine the fear you must be in where the idea of laying on a train track and waiting to be cut into 3 pieces is a good thing? I can't imagine it, but he'd done it. This poor girl, she's reading out this story and she's got a room full of junkies who have got like a day or a week or a month clean. They haven't had feelings for God knows how long, and it's all coming back to them. And she's telling this story and everyone's quaking and everyone's sweating and no one really wants to hear it. And we're going where we always go. We're looking at humour to save us. And you can see people putting their hands in front of their mouths and it's awful. And the staff, she says to me, she says, "Are you laughing?" And I sort of say, "You've got to be honest." I'm like, yes. And she says, "Well, you're only laughing because you're nervous." And I said, yeah, absolutely. So where's the problem there? And it kind of stumped her, you know, so she sort of kind of gave me this look, you know, she gave me this sort of, "You'll be dead on drugs because of this one day, you cunt," and looked back at the girl and said, "Carry on." And so she's telling a story, and now because I've let it out, other people are doing it. The pressure in this room is just massive. And then she says, this woman says, "Yeah, the train cut him into 3 bits, but it dragged the body for about 3 miles and there was nothing to bury. We put just his head and his feet into a coffin." And I'm sorry, man, I just pictured this head with these 2 feet coming out of his chin like a Mr. Man or something in this dear little coffin, man. I just broke, right? I'm sorry that it sounds cruel and it sounds harsh, but man, that was something else. And this goes on day in, day out. You know, you're hearing some nutty stories and people make shit up as well. And the advice they give, there was this one bloke there called Terry, and he'd arrived that day and he had this kind of arrogance about him where I think he was probably, you know, you get these people on DTTOs, drug treatment transfer orders, where a judge says you go to treatment or you go to prison, and they think that treatment is going to be the easy option. It isn't. Go to prison. If you ever get a DTO, go to prison, because treatment is fucking difficult. It's hard graft. And he's in there and he had this sort of arrogance about him, like, "I'm not like the rest of you." And someone was talking about their problems and it was some shit and it was awful and the whole room was thinking, oh. And this Terry went, "Can I just make a suggestion?" And the therapist said, "Yes, Terry, of course." And he said, "Write your problems down on post-it notes and then throw the post-it notes all over the floor, and then get a hoover up the post-it notes and then smash up the hoover." And the whole room is just like looking at him, frowning slightly. And I tell you what, his story went very strange, because there was a bloke in that centre who was local, and you'll see treatment centres, they try and avoid having locals in them because locals can score locally. You know, they can make a phone call, stick their hand out the treatment centre window and get some drugs. And so they try and avoid it. I'm sure they do, but sometimes it's unavoidable and they need your money, so they'll take you. And he asked this local kid if he could get him some smack. And the local kid grassed him up. He were in group and he went, "Yeah, I've got something to bring to group. Yeah, Terry asked me if he could get some heroin, if I could get him some heroin." And you should check it out. This is a room full of junkies who've stolen from their mothers. They've stolen from their kids. They've stolen from the world. They have done whatever it takes. They have swum through sewers of shit to get a 10 bag of gravy powder that they've stuck in their eyeball. But they've now got 1 day clean and they are, oh my God, Terry! It's like they've completely changed in like 2 days. "I can't believe you done that." And it's like, what? Are you mad? What, you don't want drugs? Are you lying? This is incredible. It's like, I can't believe you've put us all in danger, Terry, by asking him to get us drugs. What if you'd have got some and then I'd have smelt it and I would have been forced to use because it's my disease? You've basically given me my disease back. I can't think about anything, but you couldn't think about anything but drugs before, Terry asked. Don't fucking get on his case. Put your hand up. Be honest. As soon as you heard that, your first thought was, shit, I never thought of that. He could get us some smack. But no, oh my God. Oh my God, I can't believe you'd do that here. It's insane. And Terry, he tried to defend himself. He sort of dropped his head all theatrically. It was bullshit. He went, it's not what you think. I mean, you're a junkie and you've just asked someone to get you some smack. It's not what you think. Of course it's what you think. It can only be what you think. But of course, we're all desperate to hear what it is, because if it's not what I think, I can't imagine what it could be. And he dropped his hand lower. He uncrossed his legs. He looked up. He took a breath. It was amazing. It was a performance chiseled in the back rooms of RADA. He went, yeah, I asked for some heroin, yeah. Do you know why? Yeah? I was going to kill myself. And you know what? I think you weren't. I think you were going to have some. Just have some. And the whole room just said that. Everyone just went, bullshit. And he was like, yeah, and is that how you treat a suicide attempts in here? And it was like, what? Hang on, how come? And then he was trying to turn it on us lot. Yeah, I don't know if I want to stay here if that's the way you're going to treat an attempted suicide. And all of a sudden it was an attempted suicide. It was like he tried to hang himself and we were pulling at his legs. It was fucking nonsense. Jesus, man. Terry. Okay, look, I've been talking for long enough. I think you got enough there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I really do. It's been a fucking hassle recording it. I fucked up the first one. I've now got a couple of hours to edit it before my wonderful girlfriend's here for the weekend. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it a go next week. If you haven't, give it a go next week. It might improve with time. I might relax a bit more. So enjoy your week. Thanks for listening. See you later. Much later.